You're listening to The Artist Athlete, episode 4, babe. I'm Shannon McKenna, and I'm the host of the Artist Athlete podcast. This podcast is dedicated to Circus. It is a resource for those working in the industry to share our stories, viewpoints, and information, and a place for outsiders to get a sneak peek into our world. This episode is super near and dear to my heart because I get to record it with one of my dear friends, Inka Siefker. Inka has been entertaining audiences with an illuminating smile and arresting energy since she was merely 3 years old. At the dawn of her 20s, she ran away to join the circus. She moved to San Francisco to train with Mongolian contortion legend Circus and spent summers studying contortion in Mongolia. Esquire magazine dubbed her sexy and deadly after she set the Guinness World Record for farthest arrow shot into a target using the feet while doing a handstand. Let's hear about how she did it and so much more. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi, Shannon.
Thanks for coming on the show, Inka. It's so good to have you.
Thanks. Good to be here.
You were raised in Mississippi.
Right. I was actually born in North Carolina. My mom is from Louisiana, so I feel like most of my roots are actually Louisiana roots. But yeah, I was raised in Mississippi. Went to public school in the county.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I'm proud of my roots. I feel like there's something really special about the South and the way that we interact with people. Our mannerisms are really authentically kind. So I'm glad that's where I'm from.
Yeah, I feel like it gets you really far in circus too, because I feel like when you're from the South and you can be really hospitable, you can talk to anybody.
Oh, yeah, it's true. Actually, just this last weekend I was working in Miami, and the producer of the show was just saying that he really liked working with me because I was so easy. Easy to work with.
Sure. Helps to be a bit of both.
Whoops.
That's awesome. All right, so Louisiana via Mississippi, and then was San Francisco your first introduction to circus?
Yeah, it was. I saw a Cirque du Soleil show when I was 17 or 18 years old, but I'd never done circus before that. And I was a
Which
gymnast
show did
and a
you see?
dancer.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I saw Alegria, and there was a Mongolian contortionist in it that I just I idolized her, and then
that's a great act.
Yeah, it really was. She does a backbend handstand that looks it's so beautiful. I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, and I bought VHS tapes of Cirque du Soleil after that.
Awesome.
And I would just try to mimic the contortionist, but there wasn't any circus in Mississippi. So yeah, I moved to San Francisco to I ran away to join the circus.
You ran away to San Francisco to train at the Circus Center, or was Circma specifically?
Yeah, so
I
found Circma because I was going to Florida State University. I thought that maybe they had a circus program, but it turns out they didn't teach contortion, which is what I wanted to learn, and they referenced me to San Francisco. So that's why I chose San Francisco. Plus, I love San Francisco, so
yeah, how could you not want to live?
Yeah, it's so amazing. I just spent, before I moved there, a summer in London studying art history, and I got a taste for the big city. And I was like,
big city living.
I want to be a cosmopolitan girl. So.
That's how I was going to NYU. I would watch Sex and the City and be like, I want to live in New York City. Totally.
Yeah, it's true. So I left on a whim. I just decided that I could still do all the dance and gymnastics that I was trained, and I really didn't want to live my life behind a desk or anything maybe in the future, but my 20s, I really felt like I had something else to share with the world besides what I was doing at the time.
And I'm sure this is one of those questions that everyone asks you, but in your dance and gymnastics classes, did you find that you had an extra level of flexibility that the other girls didn't have?
For sure. And before I even went to dance and gymnastics,
Me too.
My mom was like, oh, you were such a wiggly baby. It was hard to hold you because my hips were really flexible. So even I guess changing my diaper was a challenge for her. But
are other people in your family flexible?
my mom is still flexible.
Your mom is too?
Yeah. She was a gymnast, and yeah, she's 57, can still do a back bend. Not too bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All of her, well, I don't know if she can do all of her splits still, but she was, yeah, my mom's flexible.
That's awesome. Cool.
It's genetic.
Yeah, I think so. It's a little bit. I've never seen, I'm sure there are studies out there on it, but I'm always so curious because, like, I have super flexible hamstrings and my mom can still put her elbows on the ground with straight legs. So I'm like, it's got to be
body types,
hereditary.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's hereditary.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, there's a lot of technique and skill into training and learning how to control and move. And you can always increase your flexibility, I think.
Yeah.
So no matter what body type you have, you can... Mine was pretty natural. Yeah. So I lucked out. Cool. I lucked out, but for some things, it's actually a double-edged sword, right? I'm not very strong.
Yeah.
So I can't do a
Or holding a straight handstand.
Whew, girl, tell me about it.
Oh, my God. The moment that when I went to Searchman, she was like, oh, no, straight handstand? Too hard. I was like, thank you.
Me too. Because I was training with a Chinese man before that, and he told me he wouldn't be my coach until I could hold a 2-minute straight handstand. No wall. And I did learn how to do it. I did succeed, but it was really way more challenging. I think that I should never have even wasted my time with.
Yeah, right?
It's such a boring handstand. It does gain a lot of strength, for sure, but it was not in my capacity to... I should have spent my time doing more contortion handstands.
Yeah, flexibility training and that stuff, huh?
Yeah.
So you went to San Francisco. Did you do any of the programs?
I did not do the program.
Okay.
I did a youth circus program at Acro Sports, which is next door.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically have some older artists. I was old then. I was 21 when I started circus, so I was older than the rest of the kids. But they had 3 older artists that were also in the show, and I was one of them. That was the only group, I think, training I did.
What was your first performance?
Oh,
actually?
Great question. I... luckily met somebody when I was in that circus troupe for a youth circus. The choreographer hired me to be in her company. They just got
Was she a dance choreographer?
She was a dance choreographer for... they had just got a contract for Stoli Vodka, and it was an 8-week tour across America. And
nice.
So, yeah, they hired me to be their contortionist. I was Eve, because it was for Stoli Apple Vodka, so... I was Eve with the apple, and that was my contortion act. And yeah, that was my first job, actually, my first time to get paid.
Do you feel like that character or what you did in that kind of informed the rest of your work in any way?
Well, I definitely stayed with that company a bit too long, thinking that I was going to get more jobs like that, but because I was making really good money then, and the tour was fun. But yeah, I think that's the only way. Other than that, I tend to be kind of like Madonna, and I have to change fast. So
Cool.
I did a really slow act for that piece, and my next one was really fast, and I have to change it up often. It's actually kind of annoying. I felt like when I was trying to create an act, I would often get bored with what I was doing too quickly. Yeah. And to get really good at something, you have to sustain and just perfect it.
When did the archery come about?
Dun dun dun!
Gotta ask. Because... And I'm going to say this like when I'm like, so you guys know, I do all my like, you're listening to the Artist Athlete podcast, blah, 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 after I do my interview. So Inka doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to say that she holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest arrow shot with her foot.
Right. I have accuracy and distance.
Accuracy and distance.
Officially amazing.
With what kind of bow?
It's a Mongolian recurve bow.
A Mongolian recurve bow, which weighs 12 pounds.
Yeah. The pull is 12 pounds.
The pull is 12 pounds. Okay.
The bow is probably maybe 4 or 5 pounds. Not too bad. But yeah, I chose a Mongolian bow. I was there. Okay, so reverse.
Yeah.
I was a sharpshooter when I was a kid, and so I've always had a love for accuracy with weapons and slingshots. I used to make slingshots all the time when I was a kid. Out of anything I could find, I always had a rubber band in my pocket.
Dude, that's such like a Mississippi Woods. Like, I'm gonna get a score.
I'm gonna get that squirrel. Or what we like to call in Mississippi, the wrist rockets, or what they are, actually. Like
a wrist rocket?
A wrist rocket.
Can you, like, paint an auditory image for me of, like, you hold it around your wrist?
Yeah, so the new ones they have now are actually, they have a band on your wrist, and that way it can steady it.
Okay.
But when I was a kid, I would just pick up, like, a stick. I mean, ideally the one with the two.
Oh, like David and Goliath style. And
Totally.
then you hit the rubber band and you're like, bing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I know how to wrap them around my wrist. Anyway,
Nice.
I was really into sharpshooting and that. And so I went to Mongolia to train contortion. And it happened to be during the national festival. And I saw some...
Wait, so now I have to ask, what was the process of going to Mongolia to train contortion?
My teacher in San Francisco, Searchma Bayamba, is a Mongolian woman. And Mongolia happens to be the cradle of contortion. It's where it became a circus art. It's where the best contortionists come from. It's really... I really love their aesthetic. And I was lucky enough to have a Mongolian coach in San Francisco, and she took me to Mongolia with her.
That's awesome. Was she like, because I just imagine Searchma's sweet little voice being like, okay, you come to Mongolia with me now. You know, Inka, I can't do it, but like,
Inka, won't you come? We will come. You should hear her do an impression of me. It's really
funny. My God, that's amazing.
In her southern accent, it's so hilarious.
Did she make you pay whenever you swore?
Yeah,
I bet you.
I cursed as I ripped a hole in my clothes and kicked her teacher's picture off the wall. I was kicking into a contortion handstand. I broke all the rules in one fell swoop. And she made me do all the push-ups, and I was so tired that day. I felt so bad. It was actually quite funny. We were all laughing, but yeah, I ripped a hole in my sock, which is a big rule in her class. No hole in the sock. So my sock, like, I don't know what happened, it caught on a nail or something and ripped. I cursed and then kicked the teacher's picture.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. Okay, so Searchma kindly, even after all that, took you to Mongolia.
Totally. She took me to the homeland and had
you
me
saw the archers.
I saw the archers. They were unbelievable. They were so stoic in the way that they pulled their bows, and their bows too. It's a recurve bow. So Genghis Khan actually reinvented the bow when he was ruler, and to enable you to shoot from the hip while you're on horseback. And it has a better accuracy than just a regular longbow. And yeah, so I fell in love with the shape of bow. It was so beautiful. And so when I got back to San Francisco, I went immediately to the archery store and bought a bow. A kid's bow.
Kid's bow.
Kid's bow because it's shorter and less pull.
And when you went to the store, did you test it out with your feet?
Oh my gosh, that store, Pacifica Archery in San Francisco. Shout out to my homies.
Hey, this is free advertising for them, for sure.
Yeah, well, they were so helpful with me. I explained to them what I was doing, and they always helped me tinker with my equipment in order to keep it working. So, thanks, guys. But, yeah, the people at the store were like, what are you going to do? But I did it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I can just see you, rolling in there and be like, I need a bow and arrow that I can shoot with my feet.
Yeah. Oh man, they're so great. And even every time I went in there, I had every question. I spent a ton of money and a ton of time that first 6 months just figuring out equipment and technique and just how to make the arrow not fall out, how to even pull the bow, how to aim. Yeah, they were so great. I learned the term whisker biscuit.
What's a whisker biscuit?
It's a sighting you use for your arrow, but you can only use it with a compound bow, come to find out. But it holds the arrow in place, so you have more accuracy.
Oh, wait, but on your bow you don't... A whisker biscuit. It holds... So the biscuit... What?
I don't know. I just always get a kick out of it.
That's like... That is a Mississippi... I feel like that's a Mississippi term or some kind of like...
That's breakfast.
Yeah, right? You know, whisker biscuit.
Oh, that's my cat's name.
Aww.
I
didn't have a question. I was just talking. So you went to Pacific Archery, Pacific Arrow?
Pacifica Archery, yeah.
Pacifica Archery. You got your bow, and then you went back to Cayuga, where you were living.
To the Royal Russian Kung Fu Circus Training Academy of Heavenly Mountain, Sacred Lake.
Hey! Shout out. And you spent tireless, countless hours shooting this bow.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I had really bad accuracy at first, so I had to wait till everybody left the gym in order to practice.
Right.
Also, it was really difficult, so I needed all the concentration and patience, and so I just would wait until after hours. I also didn't want people to see me fail that much, because it was really challenging to teach myself how to do that.
Yeah. That's a tricky thing about, I even feel that way, just even when I'm doing silks or something that's so simple. Like, when I'm working on something for the first time, it's really hard for me to be bad at it in front of other people.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of being a performer, right? Is that you feel like, you want to be a perfectionist, but also that other people are watching you. And people do watch you, when you're in the gym. So
for sure.
I didn't want people to see me struggle so much. I really didn't know how to do it.
For sure, yeah. And so so Inka invented this genius thing that I guess the ancient Mongolians could not have figured out when they were shooting their bows and arrows with their feet, which was she duct taped a laser pointer to her toe in order to figure out where the arrow would land on the targets. How did you figure that out? Were you like playing with it? I want there to be a story. Maybe there's not one.
Yeah, I know.
But I just want there to be a story like you had a cat one day and you're like, oh, she knows where to go. And then you put the arrow on and it was magic.
Yeah.
In your biography, or like the biography movie of your life.
That's what it'll be.
Who will play you?
Ooh, good question. Maybe Angelina Jolie.
I could see that, like a young Angelina.
Need somebody who knows how to like whip their ponytail around and use weapons.
Yeah.
So Lara Croft-ish.
A Lara Croft type, yeah, totally.
Femme fatale, any type of femme fatale. I've always wanted.
For sure. I feel like Jennifer Lawrence is like.
Oh yeah, she'd be good.
Someone like that, someone who's like down to earth, but also got that.
Yeah. Can put her hair
deadly,
back.
Sexy Inka situation.
Oh yeah, sexy and deadly. That's what Esquire magazine said about me.
Yeah, that's going in the
like
bio.
The best compliment ever.
Seriously.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the laser. I think I can't even remember where the idea came from. I was so frustrated. I was trying everything, and I actually had an idea to put a string on the edge of the arrow too, but I don't know, that wouldn't actually help that. But
yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't know where the laser came from, but I duct taped the laser to all different parts of my foot and the bow in order to see. I was just having really bad accuracy basically, and that actually didn't help that much in the end.
Where did it wind up being the most helpful to put in the arrow?
Oh, so one of the people that was at the studio I was training at bought an arrow tip for me from Amazon that has a laser coming out of the tip of the arrow. So that one was actually the most helpful, because the toe, taping it to my toe was a little futile because it was still not the arrow.
Right. It was not where the arrow would go.
Right. So I was still having problems with consistency. However, it did help me learn body accuracy. Yeah. So that every time I went down, I knew where my foot was, and it was always at the same height. Yeah.
Cool.
Body accuracy. That's what the laser helped the most with, for sure.
And then what was it like? So did Guinness approach you? Or
I totally forgot. The laser also helped me measure the trajectory. That's what I was using it for too, is because I would put the laser and then I'd go mark it on the target when I would get consistent. And then I measured how high it was from the floor. And then I knew how high I needed, my foot had to be from the floor. So I know now that my target has to be at least 38 inches from whatever platform I'm using.
Cool. So when you have your tech writer, you can just say
38 inches from the floor is the bullseye.
Every time.
Every time. And you can't use that equation because you're not my body type. So. You can use that.
You can try, but...
You can try.
38 inches. That's so precise too. I love that because it's important for those
I
things.
still do it
every time.
every time I go on, before I go on stage, I measure my target 38 inches from the floor to the thing, from the pommels to whatever it is, whatever target it is. 38 inches is the bullseye.
So you are now in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yes, Guinness approached me.
Okay.
They found a picture of me on Facebook that somebody had taken, and I had just started practicing this trick. They asked me to do it, and they gave me like a week's notice to be on film. So that was the first time I ever performed that trick, was on the Guinness TV show. They flew me, I was in Paris training and doing shows over there, and they flew me from Paris to LA, and I performed that next morning. Oh my gosh, talk about jet lag. Jeez.
Seriously,
It
dude.
was insane. But
That's the kind of jet lag where you don't even try to adjust your body. You're just
No,
like, you know what?
went with it.
This is...
But I didn't even know anything. Like I said, I was still struggling with equipment at that point, and I had really low accuracy. So it was, I don't know, it was just intuitively when I shot, I guess I knew that I had to do it. I don't know what came over me. It was like that killer instinct, like, I need this.
And what's the review process? Are there people in the room who have to check it off?
Right.
Or
so there's Guinness
how does that work?
officials that
Okay.
are there, and they measure it with a tape measure. This is probably on film, or I'm not sure, but they watch everything, they measure everything, and it's really technically annoying for me because I just want to do the trick, but they have to do all the measurements to make sure that you're actually doing it in the proper format in order to make a new record or to break somebody's record.
Did you find it was more harrowing to do that than perform the trick? Or had you been so kind of accustomed to performing the trick that...
I'd never performed the trick before.
Oh, you'd never performed
No,
it
that was
before?
my first time.
Dude!
It was insane. And
Wait, then how did people have pictures of you?
I was practicing.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even have a target at that point. I was just like, or a proper target. I was just shooting into a really big board because I didn't know where I was shooting.
Right? Into the walls of Cayuga somewhere or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I shot and I hit it on my first try, a little 4-inch balloon. And nobody could believe it because before that morning when I was trying to practice in the space, right, before they filmed, I didn't hit the target once. And I shot everywhere. I mean, I shot at the ceiling one time. So they were really nervous to have me there. The live audience was also really scared, obviously. And yeah, it was a crazy experience. I can't believe I did it. It was, like I said, a lot of work, but worth it in the end. I think I've tried again to redo that. I've tried to break my own record, and I've not succeeded.
Wow. Yeah. So your first time in front of an audience, you broke a world record.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know what came over me. I guess I was really hungry, and my killer instinct kicked in and was like, kill the target.
Yeah. It was all that jet lag and adrenaline just took over. That's crazy.
I was reading a book at the time, too, called Zen and the Art of Archery. And
I love that book.
It's really great.
I love that book, yeah.
And they talk about how even if you release the arrow and it goes nowhere, it's a release of tension, and it's still like you shouldn't think about the target. You think about the release. And I really loved that. So I don't know if I was thinking that in that moment, but it was definitely my mantra whenever I was practicing. Doesn't matter where it goes, just pull the target, use your breath, and release. So, yeah, it's good times. I did it.
Congratulations. So I wanted to ask you about your fall or getting injured.
Right. I could talk all day about it. It was so traumatic. I just signed a contract. That was my first big contract in China, and I was practicing for it. I was doing a one-arm handstand on my canes, and I went to put my hand back down on the other cane, and I missed it. And I landed, dislocated my elbow, snapped all the ligaments inside. Because I wasn't on a show, I didn't get insurance from the company I was planning to work for.
So you were on one arm.
Right.
And then when you went to bring your other arm back, you just didn't put it on the block.
Yeah, I guess I was just really fatigued. And
yeah, sure.
Made a mistake. I'd been training all day, and yeah, I just made a mistake. I did it in
brutal.
a gym full of people too. They all saw me fall, and I felt bad for them because you don't want to ever have to think about falling if you're a circus performer.
Nope.
Because as soon as you don't have courage, then you're gonna fall, and then you don't do a good job either, or like one or the other, right? You have to be smart, but don't be afraid. And so I felt bad for them for having to see me. And I think the most challenging part about it was that I didn't have proper health insurance, and my mom had to pay $30,000 out of her pocket to give me a new arm. And because my health insurance had classified it as a cosmetic surgery, and that wasn't necessary.
What?
Yeah, it's insane. But because it would heal by itself I'd snapped my ligaments in half, but you don't.
And that would just heal by itself?
You don't need your ligaments like that. It basically, if you're not a hand balancer or an acrobat or athlete, a lot of people just need their hands to type or to feed or to like wipe their butt. So they don't think that elbows are that important, you know. So they didn't want to pay for the surgery. My mom paid for it. She's a saint. And it was really challenging. I couldn't work. I couldn't even be a waitress because I only had one arm. I couldn't put my hair in a ponytail for 4 months. I couldn't hold more than 5 pounds in my hand for over 5 months. I went through so much. I went from doing like really impossible tricks to lifting a tiny barbell like for 20 minutes a day.
Dude, and what is that like? God, how did you get through that psychologically?
I have really great friends. They actually put together a benefit for me to help me pay for the surgery and pay for physical therapy. I'm getting teared up because I had so much support from the circus community. They really stuck up for me. They let me live for free in their houses. They kept me fed. I mean, it was unbelievable. I'm so grateful, and I want to pay it back tenfold. So I'm actually going to school now to be a physical therapist so that I can help other circus people who have to go through what I went through. And psychologically it's challenging. I had a offer in China again to break my own record. So that was 7 months after my surgery, and that was my goal, was to go break my own record. Yeah. And I did, but it wasn't they didn't have an official there. So from Guinness, so that wasn't classified, right?
But you did.
I did. Yeah, I shot 35 feet into a spinning target that opened every 4 seconds for 1 second, and I shot that thing.
In your biography, in the movie of your life, you'll exceed it.
For sure. Yeah, I'll get that one.
Yeah, when Angelina Jolie plays you.
Just like her hair in Lara Croft. I don't know.
Yeah, she's great in Lara Croft. And I can totally see that. Like, that's who would play
Actually,
you.
I don't think I look like her at all. I just am jealous of her ponytail. So simple.
Good ponytail, man.
I think it's really hard for circus performers who are injured because you're surrounded by people who are doing things that you want to do, but when you're injured, you can't do those things. And not only it's like your body goes through a jet lag, you know, like a severe jet lag of like, I don't know, like your soul or something. My friend Kate Scarlett said that getting injured or having to not perform is jet lag of the soul. And because you're not physically active, you don't feel satisfied in yourself, and you don't feel inspired, and it's really tough to like get up and do something else that doesn't feel like circus does. I started to learn calligraphy when I was doing that. I bought a bunch of paper and like all the pretty colored inks, and I would just paint cats. Whenever I got depressed, I would just go find cats. I'd go on a little trip around the neighborhood and see if I could find any neighborhood cats, take their picture, go back to my house, and paint them.
Cats, man.
It's really therapeutic to do a different type of art form sometimes. So
I bet, to have that outlet.
Yeah.
Because that's ultimately, and something we talked about earlier, what questions would I ask consistently on the show? And one of the questions, the podcast is called The Artist Athlete. And so one of the questions I'm always curious about, or I think we have to constantly ask ourselves as circus artists, is when are we an athlete? When are we being physical? And when are we training our bodies in this very systematic way? And then when are we artists?
For sure.
And what's that crossover?
Yeah, it's definitely like in the expression of how you move your athleticism.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Art is the expression of human expression. So it's in that expression of when you move.
Yeah.
Poetry in motion.
So I can totally see how, that's so smart, how even though the athleticism is taken away, we're still artists at heart, and to find another medium.
You have to express it somehow, like what you're feeling. And I've always wanted to be a cat, so
it's perfect.
Painted them instead.
So the last question that I ask everyone on the podcast is, if you, Miss Inka, could give yourself, your little Mississippi about to go to San Francisco self, a piece of advice or something that you wish you had learned earlier on that would have gotten you ahead of the game, what would it be?
The importance of a final trick in your act.
I love that answer. Yeah, explain that.
Well, you have to go somewhere. You're kind of telling the audience a story while you're performing. So I think just making sure that you have something that really makes what you do impossible and that really blows their mind, that's satisfying. It ends the act, but it's also satisfying for the audience to see. And circus, they say, I've heard Judy Finelli say, is about sex and death. So I feel like
I love that. Circus is about sex and death.
So you definitely have to have those elements in your act, whether you want to recognize that or not. You have to have something death-defying, or also sexy, I guess. But I guess it's like the sex appeal is like the adrenaline of it. But I think, yeah, the final trick is the most important, and having a finale. Where is this going? Mm-hmm. And then once you know your final trick, you can start. And I know that seems backwards, but I think that's what I would tell myself before is what I should have told myself a long time ago, which is start from the end.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is awesome. Now let's go drink another bottle of champagne.
More champagne!
That was my interview with the super dreamy Inka Siefker. We didn't touch on this in the interview, but I wanted to make sure to say that Inka is now fully recovered from her injury, and she's back to performing at special events. She's also enrolled at Concordia University in Montreal, and she's studying to become a physical therapist. Also, she's growing a very impressively long, badass ponytail. Inka's laser pointer story is an example of an artist using her ingenuity to discover new training assists. So often we think of the artistry of circus as being what you create and do on stage, and mostly that's true. But in Inka's case, she also shows that if you have the creative power, you can wield it to find ways of making a very challenging trick less challenging while you're training it. People think that we have all of these magical secrets to what we do, but usually it's just a matter of getting stronger or more flexible or trying something over and over again. So when I do come across someone who's found a way to make things a little more easier using technology or other things, I get really excited about it. If you want to find out more about Inka and see her in action, you can go to her website, www.inkasiefker.com. That's INKASIEFKER.com. And she's on Instagram at Inka, INKA, InkaBot. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or whatever platform you're listening on, and tell all your friends about the podcast. It's a really great podcast to listen to while you're struggling through your cardio or doing a really intense stretching session. For podcast updates and resources on aerial training, you can find me on Instagram at _artist_athlete. And if you have comments, you can go to my website, www.theartistathlete.com. We're about 4 episodes deep now, and if you've been listening to me for this whole month, thank you. I would super love to start to hear some feedback. Podcasting is this weird thing. It's not like Instagram or Facebook or other social media platforms where you get kind of immediate feedback or comments or responses. It's kind of me just sitting with a microphone being like, I hope people like what I'm saying. So if you do, or if you don't, you can go to the website, theartistathlete.com, and send me a comment or tag me on Instagram. I would really love to hear what you guys think, who you want me to talk to, and what you want me to ask. This is all for you guys, so let me know. Next week on the show, I have Carrie Heller, who uses circus as a form of therapy and wrote the manual on aerial safety that is used in the New England Center for Circus Arts teacher training program. She recently published a scientific paper proving the relationship between circus arts and self-esteem. See you next time, guys.